Hey Puppy Trades, I wanted to do a video analysis update of the Nasdaq QQQ. So we'll talk about Apple as well as Microsoft, Advanced Micro Devices, Amazon, Procter & Gamble, as well as Occidental Petroleum. I'll talk about the airline ETF JETS. I'll talk about Delta Airlines, JetBlue, the Japanese stocks in EWJ. I'll talk about BioNano Genomics, Kirkland, as well as Jaguar Health, Marathon Patent Group, Nano Dimension, Palantir, Cloudflare, Fastly, Li Auto, and Xpeng. So we have a lot to get into. Let's get right into it. Here is the Nasdaq QQQ. I believe it goes on a wave one, and then it puts in a wave two low at exactly the 61.8 to 78.6% retracement of wave one. So this is where a wave two will usually end. And we have this impulsive reaction from this zone. So this is a wave one. We have an ABC correction. We put in a wave two low between the 78.6 and the 61.8% retracement. And then we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves rally. I think there's a lot of evidence that this is a wave two low that is going to hold. We are not going to see QQQ go below 316. And we take the length of wave one. We place it at that wave two low. We have a very conservative wave three target of about 351 for the Nasdaq QQQ. Now, wave three in Elliott wave theory is usually stronger and faster than the length of wave one, and I believe in this case that's going to be the case. We get to 351, we'll probably overshoot it, and then that wouldn't be the top. I'd expect a shallow wave four correction that will likely retest this wave one high before we go on a fifth wave higher, which would be the length of wave one again placed at the wave four lows. So if that happened, we could see the Nasdaq QQQ as high as 378 in the second half of the year. I think aggressively, even towards the end of the third quarter, around September, we see the Nasdaq testing the 378 level. For now, I want to see 316 hold as the low. If we want to be a little tighter, what we can do is we can move these retracements up to this low and say we want any pullback to hold above 321 to 326. If that happens, I think there's a lot of evidence that the Nasdaq QQQ is going to be on a huge rally this summer. And it's important to realize the end of the financial quarter for the big money managers is coming up. So the four most important days for a trader are the third week of March, the third week of June, the third week of September, and the third week of December. Those are known as the quad witching days. And what's happening is the big fund managers, they're turning in their report cards for the quarter, and then they're rebalancing their portfolio for the next quarter. So if you remember, NVIDIA and Facebook and Home Depot, as well as IBM, they were ranging and they were very boring to retail traders during the first quarter of 2021, but they were actually being accumulated by the big fund managers. And then as soon as the first quarter ended, we saw those stocks emerge as huge leaders. I think that same phenomenon in the third quarter is going to happen with Apple, Tesla, Advanced Micro Devices, and Amazon, as well as many of these growth stocks that we talk about. So here is the Nasdaq. I think it's going to go the length of wave one, placed at the wave two low. Ultimately, 351 is going to be very conservative. We have a shallow wave four correction before we go on a fifth wave higher. So I think, QQQ is going to do very well. I'm not sure it itself is the best setup, but I think there's some components of QQQ that are really nice opportunities. So let's talk about more evidence that big tech will go higher. I think Microsoft is going to be a tech bull's favorite chart, where we have this wave one and ABC correction puts in a wave two low. We then, we anticipate and predict this entire rally in time and price that ends up being another wave one. We have an ABC correction. We put in another wave two low at exactly the 61.8% retracement of wave one. So that's the textbook place for a wave two to end. And that's why we don't think this is 1, 2, 3, 4. We think it's 1, 2, another wave one and another wave two. So the length of wave one placed at this wave two low, if 238 holds, Microsoft is going to be heading on a very conservative wave three target that takes it to 277. I think a lot of these wave three targets pretty aggressively get hit in early July. Very conservatively, I think they get hit towards the end of July. And we're going to see Microsoft in the 270s. Now, that's the very conservative wave three target. We have a shallow wave four correction that will likely retest the wave one high. And then the length of wave one placed at the wave four low could take Microsoft all the way to about 300. Now, why is it really important that we have a path right now on the smaller degree that takes Microsoft to 300? Well, if we zoom out, and if you've been watching this channel for a little bit, you know that a lot of stocks, especially the S&P 500 itself, we believe go on a wave one impulse from the March 2020 low to the September high. I think Microsoft is in that group where we have a wave one from the March 2020 low to the September high. We have an ABC correction and we put in a large degree wave two low. So if we take the length of wave one and we place it at this wave two low, that gives a destination on Microsoft of about 296 for a conservative wave three target on the larger degree. And now we see on the smaller degree, we see the path that's going to take Microsoft past 296. So let's talk about how that would affect Apple, because I think Apple right now is going to be a very similar phenomenon. Let's start with a smaller degree count. So I believe Apple goes on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave one impulse. And then just like Amazon, it has an ABC correction and it puts in a wave two low right between the 61.8 to 78.6% retracement of wave one. So the length of wave one placed at this wave two low is going to take Apple on a wave three rally to about 143. That's a very conservative wave three because the 161.8% extension of wave one is going to take Apple all the way to about 149. Now, I don't think that would be the top. I think we would have a shallow wave four correction, and then we go the length of wave one, place at the wave four low, and we're going to see Apple test 160 later this summer. I think very conservatively towards the, in the second half of the year. But I really think 160 is going to end up being very conservative, and it's for the exact same reason that we talked about on Microsoft. And as we talked about on the S&P 500, where Apple, on the larger degree, forms a huge wave one impulse from the March 2020 low to the September high. It then has an ABC correction and puts in a large degree wave two. So the length of wave one placed at this wave two low takes Apple all the way to 188 as the larger degree wave three destination. I think in the second half of the year, even very aggressively towards the end of the third quarter, we see Apple test that 188 number. I think ultimately 160 is going to be very conservative. Now, if we look at this from a non-wave theory standpoint, this is a textbook bull flag where we have the flagging consolidation, and then we break out of the bull flag, we back test the bull flag, and now with Microsoft, with the S&P 500, I believe Apple will go the length of wave one, place it the wave too low, and it's going to reach 188. So I'm very bullish Apple, and I think there's a lot of evidence when the second quarter ends and we see the third quarter begin that Apple, Advanced Micro Devices, and Tesla are going to be in the big tech, leadership group, the same way NVIDIA and Facebook became huge leaders as soon as the second quarter began. So let's look at Advanced Micro Devices right now. I think Advanced Micro Devices looks very good. I think a lot of these semiconductor stocks, we talked about Intel, we talked about Qualcomm, look very good. But AMD goes on a wave one, has an ABC correction, and puts in a wave two low. It then goes on a huge wave three impulse and puts in an ABC correction, wave four low, at exactly the 38.2% retracement of wave three. So very conservatively, the length of wave one, place of the wave four low, is going to take Advanced Micro Devices to about 115. I think in the next 4, 5, 6 months, we'll pretty conservatively see that 115 gets reached. For now, we're trading against this low of about 72, and the 50% retracement of wave three is 67. So that's going to be our invalidation level. If that holds, I think what's really going to happen is that 115 is going to be a very conservative wave five target. I believe wave five will actually be the length of wave three placed at the wave four low. We're going to see Advanced Micro Devices towards the end of this year, very conservatively, the beginning of 2022, we're going to see it go all the way to 136. We're going to see it go the length of wave three, placed at the wave four low, and it's going to reach 136. And just look at what happened the last time that Advanced Micro Devices was boring retail traders to tears right before the financial quarter ends. Boom, you can see right here, 6/22 of 2020 last year. It's the same thing. AMD's sideways, it's consolidating. Then that third quarter ends and AMD explodes on a summer rally. I think it's going to be the same song. It's going to be the second verse this summer, where we see Advanced Micro Devices holds above 67 to 72. It goes the length of wave three, placed at the wave four low, and it, with Qualcomm, with Intel, will reach 136. So I have a lot of ambitions for AMD, I have a lot of ambitions for Apple, and I have a lot of ambitions for Amazon. If you look at Amazon right now, it goes on a wave one impulse that is very cleanly subdivided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. It then has the ABC correction and puts in a wave too low at exactly the 61.8% retracement of wave 1. So that's where wave 2 typically ends. I believe Amazon is going to be very similar to Nvidia and Facebook in the second quarter, where it was ranging for an entire quarter, but it was actually being accumulated. And it, with Apple, with advanced micro devices, will go the length of wave 1, place at the wave 2 low, and Amazon will reach 3,802 for a very conservative wave 3 target. It's probably going to go a lot further than that for wave 3, but either way, I would expect a shallow wave 4 correction. And then we would go the length of wave 1, place at the wave 4 low, and that takes Amazon on a 5th wave as high as 4,227. So I think Amazon's going to go about 1,000 points higher. I think extremely aggressively, that's going to happen by the end of the third quarter. I think very conservatively, that happens by the end of the year. I'm looking for Amazon, I'm looking for Netflix, I'm looking for advanced micro devices and Apple to go on huge runs in the third quarter, with Tesla as well. So we'll get into the EV stocks in the second half of the video. Let's look at some airlines right now, because, you know, there's a pretty interesting thing that has been brought to my attention. Someone really doesn't like the way that I draw my wave 3 retracements. They think that I'm doing my wave 3 retracements incorrectly. And, you know, I think it's really important to understand that it's okay if you don't agree with me, okay? I don't want everyone to agree with me. I think it's very dangerous if you just blindly agree with everything that I say, because I will be wrong. I'm wrong plenty of times. And, you know, I want you to have a different opinion of me, you know, but that doesn't mean that you have to, you know, troll every single post, every single video I do. But basically, you know, this person doesn't really like the way that I draw my wave 3 extension, where I will take the 161.8% extension of wave 1 to find my wave 3 target. They think there's a different way to draw a wave 3 extension, and that's fine, okay? You can have a different way to draw a wave 3 extension, but I want you to see right now that the airline ETF, JETS, goes to the 161.8% extension of wave 1, exactly how I drew it, exactly how I've had it drawn up since February, and then look exactly where it stops, right? It stops within, you know, pennies of exactly the 161.8% extension of wave 1. So if you have a different way that you like to draw your Fibonacci extensions to find a wave 3 target, then by all means do it. But if it was any higher than the way I draw it, then, you know, your calls on the airlines got completely obliterated by theta when we had that ranging sideways wave 4 correction. So I think it's really important to understand two things. The first is that when I am looking for a wave 3, there's two ways I go about it. The most conservative way to find a wave 3 target is by taking the length of wave 1 and placing it at the wave 2 low. The textbook wave 3 is to take the 161.8% extension of wave 1, which is 28.79, and that is to the penny exactly where the JETS airline ETF halts on a dime and begins its wave 4 consolidation. So I believe that JETS is going to bounce impulsively from 25 to 23. It will go the length of wave 1, placed at the wave 4 low, and it's going to go on a wave 5 this summer to 35. And we've charted every single other airline, like American Airlines, like Boeing, like, as we're going to talk about in this video, Delta Airlines and JetBlue, as well as United Airlines. I think it's really important to understand that for all my retracements, I go the length of wave 1. Wave 2, I want to see go to about the 61.8% retracement. I look for a wave 3 to reach the 161.8% extension of wave 1. And apparently, so do the computer algorithms that are running the market. If you have a different way to find the wave 3 target, that's completely fine. Okay? Use it. That's okay. Okay? And then we have a wave 4, and I look for a wave 4 to be between the 23.6 to 38.2% retracement of wave 3. For a wave 5, I take the length of wave 1, placed at the wave 4 low, and then that would take JETS to 35. So let's look at JetBlue and see, you know, maybe there's more, you know, than just the JETS airline ETF that seems to like the way that I find my wave 3 extension. So this is JetBlue. It goes on a wave 1, has an ABC correction and puts in a wave 2 low. It then goes to the 161.8% oh, sorry, this is Delta Airlines. My apologies, but it's the exact same thing. It has a wave 1, has an ABC correction, and it puts in a wave 2 low. It then goes to the 161.8% extension of wave 1, and that is exactly where wave 3 ends. Okay, so wave 3 ends at exactly the 161.8% extension of wave 1, exactly how I draw it. And then it goes on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves impulse. So we know that this wave 3 is, very cleanly subdivided into 5 waves. We then have an ABC correction. We put in a wave 4 low between the 23.6 and the 38.2% retracement of wave 3. And then the length of wave 1 placed at the wave 4 low is going to take Delta Airlines to about 62. I think that Jets extremely conservatively by the end of the third quarter will reach 35. I think very conservatively, Delta Airlines is going to reach 62 on that run with it. We're going to see it go the length of wave 1, placed at the wave 4 low. It's going to reach 62. Now, another way to find a wave 5 target is to take the inverted extension of the wave 4 correction. Okay, in this case, I take the negative 123.6% inverted retracement of the wave 4 correction, and that is 63. It's almost exactly the length of wave 1 placed at the wave 4 low. So I have multiple ways that I'm finding my price targets. It's okay if you have different ways. It's okay if you want to use the price target that works for you. Okay, this is how I find a wave 3 target. Okay, if we look, way back on February 2nd, I talked about JetBlue being a really good opportunity, and here is exactly how I found the price target that JetBlue hit. We had a wave 1 and a wave 2, and then wave 3 we said would either go the length of wave 1 placed at this low, or it would go to the 161.8% extension of wave 1, which was exactly 20.74. So 20.74 was the JetBlue target because it was the 161.8% extension of wave 1, right? And then we look and we see, where did JetBlue stop? You guessed it. It stops almost to the penny at exactly the 161.8% extension of wave 1. So if you have a different way to find a wave 3 target, that's okay. Okay, but if you didn't cash out your JetBlue calls because you had a different way, than the way I draw the 161.8% extension, then your options got completely wrecked by the wave 4 consolidation. Okay, I think that wave 4 consolidation is done. I think JetBlue has had a wave 1, an ABC correction puts in a wave 2 low. It's gone to the 161.8% extension of wave 1 to put in a wave 3 high. The wave 4 is ending right between the 23.6 to 38.2% retracement. So I think I don't know if this is a tight stop. This is probably just the perfect stop for JetBlue would be 17.25. The real invalidation would be the 50% retracement of wave 3, which is 15.79. That's basically to the penny, the wave 1 high. So we have a pretty clear wave 4 invalidation. I believe that's going to hold in the length of wave 1 placed at this wave 4 low is going to take JetBlue all the way to 26. I think really conservatively by the end of the third quarter, we see Delta Airlines go on this run to 62. We see JetBlue go on this run to 26. We see all the airlines that we talked about, like American Airlines, United Airlines, go on the rallies that we talked about, as well as the cruise lines with it. So I'm very bullish on JetBlue, and I think that JetBlue, as well as Delta Airlines, JETS, American Airlines, and United Airlines are a lot of evidence that the market is going to go higher. So the length of wave 1 placed at this wave 4 low gives JetBlue a pretty conservative target of 26. I think it's also pretty interesting that the classical traders are going to agree with us because they're going to say the length of wave 3 or the length of this rally is the first leg of a bull flag. And then if you place it at the wave 4 low, the target is also 26. Okay, so I have a lot of confidence that JetBlue is going to reach 26. I believe pretty conservatively that's going to happen by the end of the third quarter. And that's honestly going to be, probably too conservative of a time target looking back. So that's JetBlue. Let's look at another travel stock. Here is Disney. Sorry, I'm supposed to have Disney on this. Let me get Disney open real quick. I'll just go to Disney right now. I think Disney's a lot of evidence that the travel and leisure stocks are going to go higher, with the airlines, with the cruise lines as well. If we look at Disney, we see that this is a wave 1 and a wave 2. we go on a wave 3 rally, and we have an ABC correction, we put in a wave 4 low at exactly the 38.2% retracement, and that's exactly where Disney forms a big wick. I don't think that wave 4 low is going to be broken. I think Disney will hold above 167. The wave 4 invalidation is the 50% retracement of wave 3. That's down there at 155. So I think very conservatively, Disney holds above these levels. It goes the length of wave 1, placed at the wave 4 low, and Disney is going to reach 216. This rally is from 316 to about 601, and that really lines up with, Disney, with the airlines, with, the cruise line going on a rally higher by the end of the third quarter pretty conservatively and reaching that fifth wave target of 216. I want to talk about Nike real quick. I haven't talked about Nike a lot, but I still love Nike. I think Nike's going to do phenomenal in the third quarter. And if we look right now, nothing's really changed. It goes on a wave 1, has a wave 2 correction. It then goes to the 161.8% extension of wave 1, has an ABC correction, puts in a wave 4 low at exactly the 38.2% retracement of wave 3. Nike is going to go the length of wave 1, placed at the wave 4 low. And I've got Nike going all the way to 169. I definitely think that's going to be hit, in the second half of the year. I honestly think that's going to be hit by the end of this summer. Really by the end of the third quarter, we're going to see Nike become a huge leader in this market, in the consumer disco sector. Right now, we're trading against that low of about 125, but I really like Nike. I just wanted to touch on it a little bit. Let's get into some growth stocks. I want to talk about Facebook real quick. So if we go to Facebook, we see my original count of a 1 ABC wave 2 and then a wave 3 that ends, guess where? At the 161.8% extension of wave 1, right? So if you don't like the way I draw the 161.8% extension of wave 1, take it up with the computer algorithms, okay? I've noticed that that's a very important level for them. That's where I find my wave 3 targets. If you have a different way to find a wave 3 target, that's okay. Okay, so this is the original count I had for Facebook. It's hard to ignore because it's played out almost perfectly. Here was the original count for Facebook. That was a wave 1. We have an ABC correction. We put in a wave 2 low. Then we go on a wave 3 rally. And now Facebook is getting very close to that conservative wave 5 target of about 142, which is the length of wave 1 placed at the wave 4 low. I really still think that the length of this rally from this low that's put in the very beginning of March to the very beginning of April will get replicated, whether it's a wave 3 or whether it's a wave 4. I think Facebook has a lot more upside to 357. I don't think Facebook is the best entry here. I think, we wait for 342 to get hit, and then we see, after, taking profits, is Facebook going to set up and be another entry on a potential dip. But I still think that Facebook has a lot more upside in the medium term. The near term picture, once it hits 342, I still think that target is going to be a good place to take some profits. And then we see if Facebook will pull back, have another ABC correction, and give us another setup. But I think ultimately Facebook, by the end of the third quarter, will reach 357. I think that's going to end up being very conservative because, as we talked about, this could be a 3 and a 4, but it very likely is going to be another set of 1 and 2. So when Facebook gets the length of this move placed at this low, that's not going to be the top at 357. We have another wave 1, another wave 2. This is going to be the real count, where this is a wave 1, this is a wave 2. Facebook gets to 357, and that's just the conservative wave 3 target. We have a shallow wave 4. We go on a fifth wave higher. So I'm just saying that because Facebook's getting close to the original price target of 342. I'll post about Facebook when we get there. But just wanted to touch on Facebook a little bit. Let's talk about some of these growth stocks. Some of these growth stocks have done incredibly well. But before we get there, one last little boring stock. Here is the Japanese stock market ETF, EWJ. I'm only talking about it right now because I think it's a lot of evidence that the market is going to go on a fifth wave higher. This is a wave 1 and a wave 2. It goes on a wave 3 impulse at the 161.8% extension of wave 1. We have an ABC correction where the length of wave A placed at the wave B high is the wave C low. And that is exactly the 38.2% retracement. So I have a lot of confidence right now that EWJ, the Japanese stock market ETF, has put in a wave 4 low. I don't think we're going to see 65 get broken. That's very close to 63, which is the invalidation level for a wave 4, because that's the 50% retracement of wave 3. I believe EWJ will go the length of wave 1, place at the wave 4 low, and it's going to go on a 5th wave higher to 81. I think pretty conservatively, EWJ reaches 81. And that's going to happen, pretty conservatively by the end of the third quarter. It's very similar to the Nike setup. It's very similar to the Disney setup, where we have this 1, 2, 3, and then we're putting in a wave 4 low right before the second quarter ends. So here is some growth stocks right now. A lot of these growth stocks have done really well. We'll start with the first one, BioNano Genomics, right? I posted about this. Apparently, I posted about this a few days before Reddit found out about it. So I hope Wall Street Bets isn't looking at my Twitter account, but this has done extremely well, about up 35-40% within a week of me posting about it. They announced a new chief operating officer, and then apparently Wall Street Bets gets a hold of it. So I think it's a little funny, but that's what happens when you are using the options market to time entries, right? Guess where the low of the implied volatility was? It was 5/27, May 27th. That was where the implied volatility hit its absolute low. That's why I post about it, and then boom, it explodes. So I think BioNano Genomics is going to go. It's still going to go higher. I don't think BNGO is a great entry right here, but I think there's a lot of evidence that the high growth stocks are going to do extremely well in the third quarter, where we have a wave 1 that's very cleanly subdivided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. This ABC correction ends, right between the 61.8 to 78.6% retracement. I posted about 622, and then all of a sudden, all these crazy news articles are coming out. So I thought that was very interesting. I think there's a lot of evidence that large institutions were accumulating pretty cheap premiums when it was finishing this wave 2 correction. The length of wave 1 placed at this wave too low takes BNGO to 19.49. My time target of 6 to 8 months is looking very good for that. A lot of people have said that's going to end up being conservative. I think that's going to end up being conservative, but I think BNGO is a lot of evidence that the high growth stocks are going to do extremely well. We'll talk about Xpeng. We'll talk about Li Auto. One thing I kind of want to introduce in my videos, I use the Ichimoku Cloud just to find some trend following indications. I'll post 2 links in the description of this video that I really like, articles about the Ichimoku Cloud, but this is really just a nice trend following indicator. It's entirely mathematical. It's pretty similar to moving averages, except they're calculated a little different. But as we can see, basically all I really use the Ichimoku Cloud for is that these cloud breakouts, where a stock goes from being below the cloud to breaking out and going through the cloud, can be starts of huge trends. We'll talk about Fastly as an example for that, but I've noticed that BNGO, as well as Li Auto and Xpeng, they're having these large breakouts out of the Ichimoku Clouds. I think these can be really useful to use with wave theory on kind of the 9-month to 1-year chart, where when you're looking for a big bottoming play, there's a lot of indication a wave 2 is going to be complete when price starts breaking and closing above the Ichimoku Cloud. I think there's also a lot of evidence that BNGO is actually still pretty early in this bull run, right? Because we're not even through the Ichimoku Cloud yet. It feels like it's moved a lot, but in reality, when you zoom out, there could be a lot more upside for BioNano Genomics. I don't want to introduce too many indicators in my videos. The Ichimoku Cloud, the relative strength index, and moving averages on the volume, those are really how I like to gauge trend, but I primarily stick to wave theory and implied volatility and Andrew's pitchfork. So I just wanted to talk about that. We'll talk about that a little more with Li Auto and Xpeng. But I like the Ichimoku Cloud as kind of a trend following indicator. I've gotten a couple questions like, do I use moving averages? I prefer the Ichimoku Cloud, so I'll post a link to the articles there. But primarily I stick to wave theory, and I really want to see extremely low implied volatility to make sure that big breakout is coming. So this is Kirkland. We have a wave 1 and a wave 2. It then goes on a huge wave 3 rally that takes about exactly 8 months. We have an ABC correction. We put in a wave 4 low at exactly the 38.2% retracement. So we have that wick right there, the 38.2% retracement of 22. I think BNGO, it's a little tight, but I think this is going to work out where the 50% retracement is going to act as a nice invalidation level for this wave 4 low. And then very conservatively, Kirkland, ticker symbol KIRK, will go the length of wave 1, place at the wave 4 low, and it's going to reach 35 in 5 months because this wave 1 rally takes 5 months. I think that's going to be very conservative where 35 is reached in the next 5 months. I think really wave 5 is going to be the length of wave 3, place of this wave 4 low. Kirkland's going to hold above 20. It's going to reach 51 in the next 8 months, really replicate this wave 3 rally. So I like Kirkland a lot. And let's talk about some more growth stocks. Here is Jaguar Health. I've gotten a few questions about Jaguar Health. I've always talked about JEGX as a glorified options play for myself, where, you know, essentially the share price is so low and the price target is so high that I'm looking at it as an options play for myself, where I enter it, you know, as a shareholding where I don't have any type of time expiration, and then the price target, as we'll get to, you know, would be a very lucrative return. I think that's going to work out. So here is Jaguar Health, ticker symbol JAGX. This is a SPAC, and I think especially as we see a lot of these growth stocks start to do well, we can look at JEGX as, you know, potentially, you know, joining that rally this summer where we have a wave 1, an ABC correction puts in a wave 2 low. And I really think that we're going to see JEGX go all the way to the 161.8% extension of wave 1 for this wave 3 target. I don't think that would be the high. I think we'd have a shallow wave 4 correction before we go on a 5th wave higher. So I'll zoom out for a little bit, but as we can see, right, JEGX going all the way to 7 for that wave 3 target is going to be, you know, very lucrative for, you know, shareholders like myself. So that's why I was looking at it as a glorified options play. Basically, the upside percentage is so high. I'm looking at it as an options play without an expiration risk as a shareholder for myself. So we have a wave 1, an ABC correction puts in a wave 2 low. I think we're bottoming out right now. You know, it feels a little wide, but it's not really if you see, you know, how high the beta is on these stocks, where JEGX holds above 1.10. I believe it's on its way to the wave 3 target. As crazy as it sounds, it's going to reach 7.11. We have a shallow wave 4 correction before we go on a 5th wave higher. That 5th wave is going to take, in my opinion, Jaguar Health all the way to 10. So a potential, you know, 500, 600% return. And that's why I'm looking at it as a options, you know, play without an expiration risk. So I have shares of JEGX. I have not sold shares of JEGX. I'm continuing to hold, and I'm looking for, you know, 7.11 and eventually 10 as my upside target. So extremely high risk play. I just wanted to touch on it a little bit. We've talked about it in the past, and I think, you know, as we see a lot of these high growth plays start to do very well, JEGX potentially is going to join that rally. So I want to talk about Marathon Patent Group real quick and some of these other crypto miners. I still like a lot of the crypto miners a lot, and I think just, you know, in a microcosm of that, we're going to see Marathon Patent Group looks, you know, pretty damn good right here. I got a question about these, and I posted to my tweet and my replies how Canon Creative and I believe the 9, or let me go to the tweet, but Marathon Patent Group is really a nice example of, you know, a lot of these crypto miners looking extremely good, in my opinion, where we have a 5 waves impulse that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. They put in a large degree wave 1, and then we have an ABC correction to put in a wave 2 low at the 61.8% retracement of wave 1. So that's where a wave 2 is going to typically end. And I believe Marathon Patent Group is getting ready for a huge wave 3 higher. So this was a pretty substantial rally that we saw Marathon Patent Group go on. And now we've had this huge pullback. I think that wave 2 is really in for Marathon Patent Group. I think this is pretty good evidence that Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin are going to go a lot higher. I love the Ethereum chart. I love the Litecoin chart. But this is Marathon Patent Group. We go on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves impulse. We put in a large degree wave 1. We have an ABC correction. We put in a large degree wave 2 at the 61.8% retracement of wave 1. I believe Marathon Patent Group is going to replicate this rally. Now, this is a long rally. It's literally over a year. And I don't think the time target should be a year, but the length of wave 1 places this wave 2 low. Now, it's pretty wide right here, and that's where you have to understand the crypto miners have extremely high beta, but that also, you know, brings a higher potential reward with it. Right now, I want to see this low of 18.32 hold as the wave 2 low. The real invalidation for this wave 2 is going to be the 78.6% retracement. But we look at some of these other crypto miners, we're going to see why there's a lot of evidence that these wave 2 corrections are in for this sector. And I believe the length of wave 1 places the wave 2 low, pretty conservatively a year from now is going to take Marathon Patent Group, ticker symbol MARA, to 75. I think that's going to be very conservative for two reasons. One, wave 3 in Elliott wave theory is much larger and much faster than the length of wave 1. It's followed by a shallow wave 4, and then we go on a fifth wave higher. I think we could really, if we wanted a tighter time target, use the length of this rally from 907 to about 405. If I'm math off the top of my head, that's about 7 months, where 7 months from now, we would see Marathon Patent Group hit about 73. But I think, we're going to see Marathon Patent Group half a year from now, very conservatively 1 year from now, in the 70s. And I think even potentially towards the end of this year, early into 2022, we see these crypto miners go on huge rallies. So I talked about Canon Creative. I actually haven't talked about Canon Creative, but I think this is another, very good example of these crypto miners putting in a wave too low. Canon Creative goes on this wave 1 that is subdivided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. It puts in a large degree wave 1, has the ABC correction, and puts in a large degree wave 2. So the length of wave 1 placed at the wave too low is going to take Canon Creative all the way to 44. I think this is a lot of evidence that crypto has much more upside. I love the Ethereum chart. I love the Litecoin chart. I love the Ripple chart. And I'm starting to really love a lot of these crypto miners. Canon Creative, ticker symbol CAN, is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave 1. And this rally is from 629 to about 309. So exactly what we talked about with Mara, about 7, 9, 10 months from now, where the length of wave 1 placed at the wave too low is a pretty conservative wave 3 target for Canon Creative of 44. Now, extremely high beta, not for the faint of heart here, but I think Canon Creative holds above 7.05. It goes the length of wave 1 placed at the wave too low, and we see it with Mara go on this really large rally to about 44. And, it may be too early to talk about waves 4 and wave 5 now, but that would just be the conservative wave 3 target. We have a shallow wave 4. We go on a fifth wave higher. So that's Canon Creative. I like, in the exact same vein, SOS Limited really didn't even seem to get hit too hard, during the big crypto sell-off. Or at least when it sold off a lot earlier. But here is SOS Limited. If we look at the larger degree count, there's a big wave 1 and a wave 2. And I think this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves impulse is another wave 1. We have an ABC correction. We're putting in another wave too low right now. And the length of wave 1 placed at the wave too low is going to take SOS Limited to about 17. As wild as that sounds. And look, this rally is only from 1223 to about 217. Now, that's only 2 or 3 months. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that in 2 or 3 months, SOS Limited is going to be at 17, but I think that's, where a lot of the people interested in crypto, they have to look at some of these crypto mining stocks in the same way people in the S&P 500 have to look at all the sectors of SPY, like the industrials, like the tech stocks, like the oil stocks, and, use that as kind of holistic evidence that the length of wave 1 placed at the wave too low could be a huge, upside target for SOS Limited. Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't going to be crashing while SOS Limited, Canon Creative, and Marathon Patent Group are going on huge rallies. But the length of wave 1 placed at this wave too low. If we want to be a little tight, I think 2.74 holds as the low. I know that doesn't sound tight, but for a high beta stock like Canon Creative and SOS Limited and Marathon Patent Group, that is tight. And then the length of wave 1 placed at this wave too low. We're going to take SOS Limited all the way to 17.45. And this is, again, where we look and we say that's only the wave 3 target. We have a shallow wave 4 correction. We go on a fifth wave higher. I think 6 months from now, 8 months from now, very conservatively a year from now, all these crypto mining stocks, as well as all these cryptocurrencies itself, replicate these big rallies that, they had since the election to about mid-April. And that all these rallies are replicated again. And ultimately, the replication of these rallies is just going to be the wave 3 high. So I'll talk about Ebang real quick. Ebang, it's a very recent IPO. So, a lot of people are going to say, well, it broke below the IPO low of wave 1. When you have a new IPO, what you have to understand is that they've been trading for a lot longer than they have been publicly traded. So they've been trading in private markets for a while. And that's why, for some of these IPO stocks, NEO did this too, where when you break above this low, you don't really want to use that as the, true invalidation level, because a lot of times a new IPO stock will break above the, the pre-IPO low. But I believe Ebang, this is the wave 1. We have an A, B, C correction. The length of wave A placed at the wave B high is exactly where we got that wave C reversal. And I think right now we can trade against this low of 2.37 and say that Ebang with SOS Limited, with Marathon Patent Group, with Canon Creative, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin and Ripple are going to be big winners, and that ultimately in that same time that Marathon Patent Group and SOS and Canon Creative are going on those huge rallies, I think Ebang ultimately will break above this all-time high of about 14.95 and go much higher from there. So very young chart for Ebang. I just want to say I'm still very bullish Ebang. I'm still holding Ebang. So that's Ebang. I'll talk about some of these other growth stocks that I talked about that have done very well. Let's start with Cloudflare. Cloudflare and Fastly are a lot of evidence of what we've talked about, where the growth stocks have an incredibly good summer. So here's Cloudflare. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave 1. We have an ABC correction. We have a large degree wave 2. And then we have another wave 1 and another wave 2, right? Get off the bus, right? That's what the hedge funds are telling you when they go retest this low. But that's just a kick out wave. And then boom, we have this huge impulsive reaction from Cloudflare. And we're above this wave 1 high. We've confirmed that all of this is consolidation, and Cloudflare looks extremely good to reach my target of about 124. So I don't think Cloudflare is the best entry right now. Just wanted to update, but it's also a lot of evidence. Cathie Wood, her software stocks, her electric vehicles, her solar stocks are going to be huge winners this summer. So the length of wave 1, placed at this wave 2 low, I believe Cloudflare's very conservative wave 3 target is about 124. I think that's reached towards the end of the summer, very conservatively, the second half of the year. So my Cloudflare time projection and price projection look very good. I think another one in this software sector is Fastly. Fastly looks extremely good. We have this massive reaction from the 78.6 to 61.8% retracement zone. We're almost out of it. So I like Fastly. I think anyone hypothetically who got into Fastly in that 42 to 39 range, they might have caught a monster, and I don't think they realize how big of a monster that could be. I think this could be a future FANG right here. And those who, had the stones to go bottom fishing in the 40s, they're going to be very happy campers. If Fastly went over any lower, I would, very aggressively pursue it myself. I can say that right now. But this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave 1. We have an A, B, C correction where the length of wave A, place of the wave B high, is exactly where we get this reversal between the 61.8 to 78.6% retracement. I think wave 2 is in. Fastly is. I don't think we're going to see Fastly below 40. The length of wave 1 places this wave 2 low. As wild as it sounds, Fastly's conservative wave 3 target, I've always talked about it as a very long-term play for myself, is 165. We have a shallow wave 4 correction. We go on a fifth wave higher to, insanity land of about 262. So I have a lot of aspirations for Fastly. I'm glad to see it's done pretty well in the short term. I just want to, do a quick reminder. Whenever I am in an options trade, if the options are up 100%, I always sell half to remove the original risk of the trade. I liked it more as a shareholding though, where the length of wave 1 places its wave 2 low. We have that low of 39 now. I don't think we break below 39. I think this ends up being a monster winner in the future. So, besides it being a huge stock, I think it's going to be a lot of evidence of what we've been talking about this whole video, what we've been talking about really for a lot of the second quarter, of the reemergence of growth stocks and software stocks in the third and fourth quarter. And it's going to be the exact same thing where, we were making fun of the growth investors in the second quarter. Then all of a sudden we wake up, June begins and they're leading. And there's honestly not a lot of setups in the growth stocks. I think that, two that we've talked about that have started to do very well are Xpeng and Li Auto. So I'll talk about Xpeng and Li Auto real quick. I want to, throw the Ichimoku Cloud on these two real quick, just because we have this, what we call a wave 2 low. I'll mark up the wave theory in a second, but we have this wave 2 low, and then now we're breaking out of the Ichimoku Cloud, and these can be, huge bullish signals for large runs. I want to show Fastly as an example for that real quick, where if you look at Fastly's huge run that it had in 2020, it was preempted by this Ichimoku Cloud breakout. It's a very similar story with Neo. We put in that major low, and then this, cloud breakout on the Ichimoku Cloud leads to, an insane run for 7 months. I think that very same phenomenon is going to happen with Xpeng and Li Auto, because they've both broken out of this Ichimoku Cloud as well. I think this wave 2 low is in. We'll talk about the wave theory in a second. I just want to show Xpeng and Li Auto are both having Ichimoku Cloud breakouts that are really coinciding with what we're talking about from a wave theory standpoint, which is that this is a large wave one. We have an ABC correction that puts in a wave too low, and then ultimately XPEV, very conservatively will go the length of wave one, place at the wave too low. We talked about XPEV as a pound the table below 30, and now we can start to see why. I'm in XPEV, I'm in Li Auto as a long-term shareholder. I'm very happy about this, where this is a large degree wave one. We have a, large degree wave two, and then these two Chinese electric vehicle stocks, you don't want to call everything a future NIO or a future Tesla, but I think these two might deserve it, because this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave one. We have an ABC correction that puts in a wave too low. And I think XPEV and Li Auto, they're going to do extremely well. I talk about Tesla in every video, but Li Auto and XPEV, if you're a Tesla bull and you're seeing these two explode, and you're seeing that this wave too low is in, and that these two likely are going to be massive winners this summer, then that's going to be extremely bullish for Tesla in that electric vehicle sector. I like a lot of these small cap electric vehicle stocks. We've already seen a lot of them, leave their buy zone. So here's XPEV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave one, and ABC correction puts in a large degree wave two. XPEV ends up going the length of wave one, place at the wave too low for a very conservative wave three target of 80. I'm an XPEV as a shareholder. I don't have a time expiration, but I'm extremely excited for XPEV's upside. In that same vein, Li Auto as well is going to be ultimately a huge winner. So we'll talk about Li Auto. We'll talk about Nano Dimension real quick. Just want to show it's having an Ichimoku Cloud breakout as well. These can be pretty useful as trend indicators. But I think a lot of times when you're having that big ABC wave two correction, using the cloud breakout on the 9-month chart to the 1-year chart can be pretty useful. And as we're seeing, XPEV and Li Auto and a lot of these growth stocks, they're starting to close above the Ichimoku Cloud, and a massive new trend is unfolding. So that's just the Ichimoku Cloud view. The wave theory view, obviously that's where I put a lot of my emphasis. All my focus is on wave theory, and the options market implied volatility. But here's Li Auto. I believe it's going to go, the length of wave one, place at this wave too low. I think this wave too low is in. I don't think we're ever going to see, I really don't think we're ever going to see Li Auto below 20. I don't think we're ever going to see XPEV below 30. I think the bus is leaving, and it's going to be very similar to the fourth quarter of 2020, where, you're making fun of the boomer stocks, you're making fun of the airlines, and then all of a sudden, American Airlines, JetBlue, and Boeing, they're gone. They're gone. And those who got in for the long term, they're going to be extremely happy. I think right now, XPEV and Li Auto, they're going to be examples of that in the growth sector where they're taking off. That's the length of wave one, place at the wave too low. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave one. We have an ABC correction. We've put in that wave too low. And then Li Auto very conservatively goes the length of wave one, place at the wave too low. And it's going to reach this wave three high of about 50. So I'm in Li Auto as a shareholder. It's very important to realize that's the conservative wave three target. We have a shallow wave four. We go on a fifth wave higher. So two more stocks. I think these are really good evidence that the growth stocks are going to go much higher. Here's Palantir. Palantir, we're starting to see this reaction. I can assure you, Redditors are not doing this, but this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large degree wave one. An ABC correction puts in that large degree wave two between the 78.6 to 61.8% retracement. I think Palantir ultimately is going to replicate this entire rally from 10.5 to about 125. That's only 3 or 4 months. I think 4 to 6 months is probably the better price target, but we're going to see that be very conservative, where the length of wave one placed at this wave too low is going to take Palantir all the way to 53. So that's my next, very conservative wave three target. And I think if we zoom in right now on this Andrews pitchfork, very pretty reaction with this daily wick on the median of the pitchfork. I think as well as using the length of this wave one, place at this wave too low, we can use the median of the Andrews pitchfork as the wave three target as well. I think both are going to get hit. I think in the second half of this year, as crazy as it sounds, we see Palantir go all the way to 53 for a very conservative wave three target. So that's Palantir. Here's Nano Dimension. A lot of people thought this was crazy. Definitely too early for a victory lap. But I think Nano Dimension is going to be another one of these growth stocks that goes on huge wave three rallies in the third quarter and for the rest of the year, where on the larger degree, we have a wave one and a wave two. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another wave 1. We have an ABC correction. We put in another wave 2 between the 78.6 to 61.8% retracement zone. We're getting this pretty impulsive reaction right now. And I think we can trade against this low of about 5.39. If that holds, the length of wave 1, place of the wave 2 low is going to take Nano Dimension to 21. I think we see Nano Dimension at 21 in the second half of the year. So I think there's a lot of evidence that growth stocks and some big tech components that were laggards, that were, boring a lot of retail traders to death. We're going to have plenty of mornings where we wake up in the third quarter, we wake up in the fourth quarter, and they're the leaders, and they're going to have some jaw-dropping wave 3 rallies.